Hello and welcome to day 105. We have 1 Samuel chapter 17, Psalms 9, and Matthew chapter 2. Welcome to Goliath time. So here's one of the great stories of the Old Testament. Little young David, maybe 12-ish years old, taking on the giant Goliath, who maybe was 9 feet tall, maybe he was 7.5, whatever he was, big, huge, brawny warrior from the Philistines who is challenging the Israelites. So the battle lines are drawn between the Israelites and the Philistines in this big valley. And this really becomes a hero contest. Now, this is a common trope, a common genre of hero story in the ancient world, where instead of entire armies battling each other out, because frankly, to be honest, the loss of every person was a great problem. It wasn't like there were vast numbers of people to replace them. And every person that is lost in battle can't go back and farm and do the work that's needed to keep the nation state going. And so there's often this idea that they will choose a couple heroes from each side to battle it out, and whoever wins takes the whole battle. And so that's really what we have going on here. Goliath has challenged the Israelites to a hero battle. Send your best warrior out, we'll go man to man, and the winner takes all. Now, David was the eighth son of Jesse. Three of his oldest brothers are on the field of battle as soldiers for King Saul. Now, David has already been introduced to Saul. He does some stuff for Saul because he goes and he plays music when Saul is having some mental health problems. And David is very soothing to Saul. But Saul does not know that David has been anointed by the priest or the prophet Samuel to be the next king. And Jesse's family isn't really sharing this information because they know Saul will come after them. But David becomes a gopher during this battle. He is going to bring supplies to his brothers. He is going to help out Saul if he needs to. And then he's going back and doing his shepherd work. So he's going back and forth. And he hears this challenge from Goliath, and he's like, what is wrong with you people? Why aren't you standing up to Goliath? We have God on our side. And Goliath just totally dissed our God. And why are we not standing up on the side of God? And so this is the first reflection I think that we need to kind of sit with today is, how is God perceived in our world today? And do we stand up for God? Do we defend God? Do we work for God? Do we make God known? Or do we cower? Do we run away? Do we hide? Just like the disciples did during the last week, after the Last Supper, when Jesus is betrayed and arrested, the disciples disappeared and hid away. Is that the equivalent of what we're doing in our lives today? Or are we standing up and being bold like David did? So I think one of the lessons to take from here is David says, I will take on Goliath. And everyone's like, yeah, this is a joke. Now, Saul and Jonathan are the only ones that have metal armor in the Israelite army, and they put this on David. And of course, it doesn't fit. David's too small. David doesn't have developed muscles, and David doesn't know how to use this equipment. He's a shepherd. He uses stones and slings and his bare hands to take on the lions and bears and tigers, oh my, whatever wild animals will come after his sheep and his goats. And so he sets aside all the fancy equipment that Saul tries to give him, and he goes out with what he knows, with what he is good at, and he doesn't try to be anything he isn't. And I think this is a second reflection for us to sit with today. What is it that we are really good at? And are we focusing on doing that and offering that to God and to our neighbors? Or are we trying to be like someone that we're not? Are we trying to do something that we're not really very good at? Turning to Psalm 9, this is a joyful psalm. This is a wonderful psalm that worships God, a God of justice, and a God that takes care of the weak and oppressed. So if you're looking for a more cheerful psalm that helps you grow in the ways that you can worship God through prayer, Psalm 9 is a great one to bookmark and use in that way. Now, in Matthew chapter 2, we've got the wise men showing up, and the wise men first go to King Herod to say, hey, there's a new king that's been born, and we've come to honor this person. Herod does some research on the whole Messiah thing, discovers that the Messiah most likely would be born in Bethlehem, and so he sends the wise men there. But after they worship baby Jesus, they decide to go home by a different way. They're warned in a dream not to go back to Herod. And so they go home a different way. And then Joseph gets another visit from an angel warning him to take his family and flee to Egypt because Herod is going to come after them. Now, they return after Herod dies. Remember that Herod has three sons who inherit different parts of his kingdom that he's been given by the Romans to govern on behalf of the Romans. Some of their names have variations of Herod in them, so sometimes it's confusing to know about the great King Herod at the time of Jesus' birth and some of the Herods that were around later on, especially during the adult time for Jesus and John the Baptist. So remember, there's a father and there are sons. Now, Herod, this is a terrible, terrible story. Herod kills all the baby boys under the age of 2 in Bethlehem, hoping that he kills Jesus in the process. He does not. This is one of the great, terrible, violent moments of the Bible. But our final reflection today is, how is Joseph obedient? Joseph keeps getting these messages, these dreams, these angels coming to him from God. And Joseph steps up and he does what God asks him to do. And I think for us, we have to wonder, are we paying attention to God? Are we listening to God? If God were to send us a message, would we even receive it? Are we paying attention? And then do we act on the requests or the commands that God gives us? So that's a little bit for us to think about today, and we'll see you next time.